working as a bank teller earlier in your career, you were held up by one of the most notorious bank robbers in Australian history.
The biggest bank robbery in Australian history at that time in 87, Belmont branch.
What happened?
So I parked at this stage I've got a little red Ford Meteor, Scoey. And
The Red Rocket.
Yeah. Andrew Ingalls, a mate of mine, was selling cars, Ford, working for it was in the city centre Ford with a big fella, Brian Haywood, back in those days. So got that car and parked it. It's right next door is this beautiful white Cordia Turbo, and I sort of stood there admiring it. Anyway, I go into the bank, and we used to meet at a cafe, and so we met at the cafe, and Nigel Minchin, who was my branch manager, and I went in and we do a security check to see if there's any visible signs of anyone breaking into the bank. Then you come out, so all the staff go in, and sitting there preparing our day, you need basically 4 combination key locks. So you got Nigel, you've got a lady by the name of Carmel Make, Tony Wally, who used to play a bit of footy for Swan Districts, and George Morton. There are 4 of them. They take off their combination key locks, and Nigel calls out, "Tellers, safe's open, come and get your cash out." Well, next minute, this bloke just drops out of the roof with a pistol. Now, at this point, I hadn't seen all I could hear was girls screaming, and it sounded like the sound because there was no technology, just checkbook cabinets. They used to be full of checkbooks because you didn't have the transactions available on your phone, or there was no internet banking or any of that crap. So it sounded like that. So I come running around the corner, and there's this bloke, everyone on the floor, blow someone's brains out. So I got carpet burn on my chin diving down there. And then I was just laying there, and then there's this other bloke still up in the roof. So he passes off a sawn-off double-barrel shotgun to the bloke. So he's now got a pistol in one hand, sawn-off double-barrel shotgun in the other. Then this other bloke jumps out, and his gun's going like this. Next minute, his gun goes off next to Nigel's head. Goes into next to it, shot it off. Yeah, shot it off for real bullets too. Went into the concrete, and then he gets Nigel and says, "Mate, we need the money." So dragged him and got his keys and opened Treasury, as we would call it. And then Carmel actually walked in there, and then another shot off. It shot around our strong room, and actually, thankfully, didn't hit anyone because they're obviously built to withstand bullets and those sorts of things, but ended up lodging itself in our Treasury file, which was for travellers checks, which was a physical document that you had to, so it was a nice thick one, so the bullet actually jammed in there. And nicked off with pretty much 2 or 3 tins of money. And then I chased out in the opposite direction so I didn't get shot. They ran that way. I saw them going past the glass. I thought, I think I'm safe. So I jumped up and ran around the other way. And next minute I see these balaclavas in that white Cordia Turbo that I was looking at that morning when I walked into the office. So I saw the car. So then that was the only piece of evidence that I could really give because I didn't see their faces. I knew what they were wearing. But I had to go to the Supreme Court and testify. That was probably scarier, looking at the guys that had been caught and
in the courtroom.
Charged. Yeah. And going there just saying, I saw this white Cordia Turbo with number plate such and such, because that was the only bit of sort of concrete evidence that I had was the getaway car.
That was scarier than the shotgun and pistols.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the bit that I left out was that because it was taking a bit of time for Carmel and Nigel and so on to get the money. So you had the scenario where he dropped out of the roof. When he got the sawn-off double-barrel shotgun, he was basically walking around to us blokes, putting it on the side of our heads, going, "I want no heroes pushing no buttons because I don't want a death today." And I just said, "Well, it's not my money. Take as much as you like." And he did.
How much did they take?
I think it was around 117,000 at that particular time, like which I believe was the biggest robbery in Australian history at that particular time.
Yeah, I mean, you're a jovial character. You're on radio. You tell stories, but that's pretty brutal for a young kid.
Yeah, well, how's this though? I get a transfer to Subi branch in Rockaby Road to be closer to training, and this joint's got front. At least at Belmont, you only had one entrance. So at Rockaby Road, you had a back entrance which came off the car park, and you had one that came off Rockaby Road. Well, so I'm working there, and this time in customer service, and I'm just standing there, and then next minute, 2 blokes come in through the back door and get robbed again. So I get carpet burned twice. I got to lay on the floor again. They weren't that good though. They just stole about $6,000 and got caught at the casino with their girlfriends.
That's good. That was just a little teaser of our full episode. They're out Wednesdays on YouTube, and you can listen to them wherever you get your podcast. Go on, get out of here.